Welcome to Smart Haus, a Pittsburgh podcast about smart technologies, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and the future. I'm your host, Dustin Dowling, and with me today is Josh Lucas, a LinkedIn headline thought leader.
Yeah, I mean, I like to take my LinkedIn profile pretty serious.
It sounds very serious.
It's important to me that I continue to climb some corporate ladder somewhere. So if you dig deeply into my LinkedIn profile, you'll see some of my skills are like animal handling. And
I did not see that.
Rope tying, I think. Basically just your run of the mills, Dungeons and Dragons sort of secondary skills.
That you need for living in this world we live in right now.
Yeah, skills to climb the corporate ladder. I think LinkedIn is, pretty explicit about its goals and helping you achieve greatness in the hierarchy. And so I just want to make sure that I'm participating fully.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming, Josh. I really appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
That's cool. So what's your experience in tech? Like, what's on you right now? You got a smartwatch? You got a phone?
Yeah, just a phone. I'm as I get older, I'm becoming more and more of a Luddite about all this stuff. Like, I don't think the net positive effect that it has on a person's life is demonstrable anymore. I think that this burden of tech is becoming more and more unhealthy and bad for us. So as in the last year, the pandemic certainly helped. Like, I've stripped away a lot of those habits. I think I just have Twitter left on my phone. Everything else, all the social media is gone. Like, I just don't participate.
Except for Twitter.
Which
is like, that's pretty.
It depends on who you follow, right? Like,
that's a good point.
Yeah,
good point.
I'm definitely not following like the pop culture stuff. I follow like just weird niche topics that interest me. And even those are like cesspools of like animosity and like
cesspool is the best word. I mean, that's how I describe Facebook. I have this weird thing I've been doing lately is I've been clicking on Facebook news articles in the comments. And as soon as I see a group of comments that I just don't understand, I screenshot it for later because I can't tell. And I'm like, are these people real?
Yeah.
Like, that's all I think about now. Cause I go through, I'm like, they look real. They don't look like bots, but they have like a comment that is so virtuously singling to I don't know. It's not even just a political like left or right. It could just be some off like local thing about like a market, and someone's just in the comments going, I think it's really great that we bring the pigs to the farm, and just like long and just like who is she talking to?
Yeah.
All the time, and I'll just screenshot.
Yeah, it's just pure narcissism, right? Like,
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm not sure they're real sometimes.
I think they're real. I think just like the tendency now is like everybody has to be the hero of their own story, and like like humans have just bought into this idea that they're really important, and they have to demonstrate that any chance they get. And that's part of the reason why I got rid of it all. I just that virtue signaling or virtuosity, and it's just like no one really believes that you believe this, and no one's giving you any sort of like social clout because you post something stupid like this on social media.
Unless there is some kind of clout that everyone's gathering that I don't quite understand, like someone's just carrying around. And it seems to be more on Facebook, by the way. I mean, that's where I see it.
I see it on Instagram. I think Instagram too has that problem, right? Yeah. Like, I don't have it on my phone anymore, but like, again, like those sorts of like acts of just like, I'm on vacation in, North Carolina. And it's like this whole like monologue about like how you needed a break.
Oh, that's the worst.
Like, here I am, I'm on my break, and here's all the stresses in my life, and like you should know all about this. Like, I don't know, man. I like the old days when I didn't know anything about you. And
I think about that all the time. That thought comes in my thought process is like, if there wasn't social media, like years ago, would I even remember you still existed at this age? From someone I met in college or even younger, would I even know? There's people in my mind, I know what they look like right now, and I'm like, why? Why do I know that person? Because I've scrolled through 1,000 of their pictures.
Yeah, they're shirtless flex pics. You're 45.
I know exactly what they're up to too, and it's like, man. But on Instagram though, I feel like I don't dive into the comments or the descriptions as much. I see it as more of a visual thing.
Yeah.
And Facebook is more, and that's where, like, I guess the news and stuff was, but it's going to change anyways. No one's going to remember Facebook. Everyone was just going to know what Meta is and what VR is. Yeah. So you said you've never even crawled into a VR. Do you have any smart devices in your house to turn lights on or anything?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
not.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the privacy stuff and just there's too much opportunity for folks to like take this data in aggregate, whether it's corporations or the Chinese government or your own government. Like, I just don't see the upside. Like, I don't see the upside of this minor convenience of being able to tell your lights to come on and then exchanging, everything you've said in the living room for the last decade to your wife. I don't see like, how is that a fair exchange?
Oh man, but you don't understand, those 20 seconds in the morning add up.
I'm sure they do.
I did kind of, I think that way, but at the same time, I'm almost like I don't care anymore. I don't know when it happened. I think I was always so into the future and just, I can't wait to have that life of like, I just want to say and think things and those things happen. And really what it was is like, I take my daughter to school in the morning.
Yeah.
And so there was this whole thing, a routine in the morning of waking up, turning the lights on, setting the temperature,
sure,
coffee. And then when I set it all up and now I just say, hey, Google, good morning. And it all happens.
Blows up.
It blows up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice and I'm hooked, but I do agree that it's listening to you and it's throwing like little ads and stuff to you.
Well, and it's just like how that, as we get more and more sophisticated, how those are like become just modes of control. Like all that raw data is explaining human behavior to anybody who wants to listen and has the computing power to crunch it. And so like humans are hackable. And the more data you give, corporations or governments or just people at large, right? Like more and more humans are going to be manipulable. And I just don't know that that's better. I don't know it's better that to have that kind of like ability to like rig the game and skew the game one way or the other so hard.
As like an individual, I don't think it's better. But if we want to take over the universe, and like I don't know if you're a Star Trek guy at all.
Sure, yeah.
But if you know what the Borg is, sort of how that works, and they're basically kind of one entity. Even though in later movies they start to there is a little bit. But that's how I see our future is. And the greatest example is you can take any popular song now and just start playing it in front of a group of kids, and they'll all know the exact dance immediately because they're all connected. We're all connected.
Yeah.
And like you saying being hacked, it's just like, you have an appointment on your Google Calendar. Well, once it's on there, I know I put it in there for now. That's how it is now. And I go, but in the future, I just kind of like, I'm looking at it. I got an appointment. Well, what if someone's hacking, over time? And then next thing you know, we're just a big group of people just doing whatever one or two people say, and we're taking over the galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, it homogenizes culture.
You have big words. When I like you.
I had a beer at lunch, so I'm loaded with big words now.
Nice.
Improves my verbal acumen. One beer does. 2 beers.
You're crushing me.
Just be saying fuck a lot more.
There it is. There it is. Bring it back down to this Smart Haus.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, man. It depends on like what the existential threat is to humanity. If it's external, off the planet, then you probably do need to homogenize all these different competing factions of humans because they can't work together, obviously. Like we've got 100,000 years of human history of proving that we can't work together, right?
Right.
So, that's the Chinese vision, I think. Maybe I'm not articulating it super clearly, is that the central authority will set the norm. And if you comply with the norm, you'll live in utopia. And if you don't, if you're an outlier, then you will be, purged economically, if not just purged like the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, the old-fashioned way. I like how it's old-fashioned, like it's actually happened before. Wait, has any country or any place ever done like a purge?
Yeah, I mean, genocidal, like Rwandans and the Albanians and the Turks. Like there's a bunch of like notable genocides, I think. But like I don't know. It depends on like where we're going to be challenged in the next 100 years. And in the meantime, though, like humans always will do all the things they can with a piece of technology. They'll do all the wonderful and great things with a piece of technology, and they'll do all the horrible things too with that piece of technology. And I think that's what we have to learn how to like mitigate and think about carefully. Because like the next generation of technology democratizes genetic engineering, it democratizes AI, it democratizes big data. It makes it so that an individual, no matter how sociopathic or healthy that person might be, can like do some crazy malicious shit with it.
So would you live or maybe visit a smart city if it was really like 100% smart? Meaning once you got in, you didn't really have to pay to live there.
Yeah.
Because it's just part of your universal income.
Yeah.
Like you just kind of going, maybe you're giving some type of service.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it would be your data, or maybe you're kind of designing. I always think of George from the Jetsons, because all he did was press one button.
Yeah, he's a good worker.
Just a really, yeah. So like, obviously, everyone have such like mediocre tasks that you kind of have to monitor,
Yeah.
and it's just like, turn that to 9.
Yeah.
You know, and that's all you would have to do. But you're living in like a tube. But then once you're done with the day, you kind of slip out of your tube, slip into the shower, and just kind of walk through the smart city. You get food when you get food. You get entertainment when you get entertainment.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know. Like it depends on so many factors, right? Depends on like the intent of that smart city. You know, is the intent of that smart city to extract labor and value from someone and not compensate them fairly? Is the intent to really create like, you know, for whatever it means, like a utopia for a group of people? Because like one person's utopia is definitely not somebody else's utopia, right? To go to some libertarian leaning county and like ask them what utopia is, and it's very different than like what a city kid might say, right? You know, so I think my lifetime, you know, I'm getting up there in age, so like I don't think I'll have to worry about that. But like your kids and my kids will certainly have that choice. Like, do you go work for Google and just Google becomes your whole entire life? If you think like back to like the coal miners, right? Like they had company stores, right? The coal mines did that, and that didn't work out well for the worker, right? Like that generally wasn't a net positive thing when you have to buy your groceries from your employer, right? Or you depend on your employer for your groceries, or you depend on your employer for your housing. There's just too many opportunities to like corrupt that system. And the one thing humans are going to always do is they're going to be corrupt, and they're going to always look after their own self-interests more than they look after the self-interest of their immediate family, and then their secondary groups and their tertiary groups, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think actually Google has been testing like their own cities.
They've talked about it. I don't know where they are in it.
Yeah, it's like somewhere in the middle of the country.
Like Arizona, like in my head.
Yeah, it's like something, because I know they put on their own internet because it's like super blazing internet. The whole place, the whole city would have that. But you're right. You would be in the Google ecosphere for everything. You'd be buying, I already feel like I do this anyways now, buying everything through Google, you know, you're using all their services. But that's right. Then you'd be like the Google city, and then there's the Facebook city.
Yeah. And then what happens when you sleep with your boss? And then that relationship goes like southwards. Like now all of a sudden, like, where are you in your economic? You know, what happens like economically to you if you piss off the wrong person for whatever reason?
It's not the same as being canceled off of Twitter.
Right.
You know, you're literally kicked out of Twitter city.
Yeah.
You know, and this is also just, I'm saying this as a physical place. Now, this is also in the metaverse.
Totally.
Could be the exact same thing. Because once you start spending enough time in there, which for me, I spend almost an hour a day now.
Oh, wow.
In VR.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I usually talk about it at the end because there's a couple of good reasons for that. But like I am spending, now it's gaming right now. But I can see other reasons, work, and then once the graphics get better, other things get better, you know, for relaxing, education. You're just in there. And that's why when you read about like virtual property is a real thing. So if you have a very popular place everyone goes, just like in New York City, well, you want billboards and advertising and stuff like that there. So like it starts to actually be worth money.
But does that worry you? Like, does it worry you that like your economic well-being is completely dependent on another person's company? You know, the whim of that company is really the only thing that empowers you to have economic value. And we're already there with smartphones.
I was going to say that, Tyra, I feel like a lot of people just regular jobs, you know, they're connected to their regular jobs. Yeah.
Do you worry about that? Like, do you worry that like all of our economy is bound up in these devices now, and like one solar flare or just, you know, a takeover by a hostile entity could change the economic deal that you have with these vendors?
It's so weird. I think about that because it does seem like we're basically making a world with a huge off switch. Right. That anyone can just go, just like in any cartoon you've ever watched. And I've talked about this before, where like silly like villains of like the Ninja Turtles, now it starts to almost make sense, where he's just like, I want all power. Like Jeff Bezos laugh now. Yeah. And like the heroes come in and they want to like shut down society and fix everything. And they find a way into this big lever and that's it. And it's like, yeah, close, blow up a satellite or two, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, it seems,
And if your income's solely dependent on that, like what do you do if there's a crash, like a technological crash, or again like a hostile actor like just ruins it, right? Like
there's a Rick and Morty episode. This happens, and he hits the button, and like the general gets up. He's like, "You do it." He's like, "Well, you need to pay me first," and then they start fighting each other and they start killing each other. So I don't know. I guess that's gonna happen. I feel like eventually. but it hasn't, and it's been a long time, and I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You see, there's a solar flare hitting today, I think.
Is it?
Isn't it?
Oh, it's going to happen today.
Is it the 18th? No, it did happen 2 days ago, maybe.
But we've been hit with solar flares before, right?
Yeah, I mean, just got to wait for the big one, right? Like,
Yeah, I guess I've my entire life we went through no pandemic, and all of a sudden there was a pandemic.
yeah,
And I never thought that was going to
right.
happen.
Once in 100 years, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So
Yeah, it's just a weird thing to think about. Like, it worries me a lot because like the skills that we call employable skills now aren't like go grow yourself food or
right.
or like become a mechanic so that you can fix the machine that grows the food for you, right? Like it's like, hey, be a content creator on this platform, and your whole livelihood is dependent on.
And that's your whole life.
Yeah, and you don't own that platform, and you certainly aren't in control of like any once in a century events that might like make that platform not viable.
I mean, I do think about that with my kid because sometimes I show her how to do things. She is so much hooked on to the phone and stuff and she does do a bunch of other, she's involved with school and, activities and stuff. I would try to teach her, hey, you want to go camping? This is how you make a fire. But some people aren't doing that. Eventually, you're just going to have someone that has no idea how to even like gut a deer or like go fishing or even start a fire. Those skills maybe will eventually go away, and that might be the end of humanity. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, at some point, right?
Yeah.
But if that Google Smart City in the meantime might be the best place ever, and really might be like a narrow window of like true utopia, right? Like there might be like a group of people that get to live off of the labor and energy of 7,000 years of civilization or 12,000 years of civilization, whatever it is, in a way that's super easy.
Well, then there'll be other people exploring through space, and that will be a whole other. They'll need all these technology, but then at the same time they'll have their freedom on Mars or whatever.
Libertarian utopia, Elon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Elon Musk is creating.
I think that's gonna happen. If he can live till he's 100, I think he will be living on Mars. If he can live to 100, I bet he dies on Mars.
Yeah, I mean that's his plan, right?
That is his plan. That's what he said.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
I think it will happen. So we're going to jump into a couple headlines right here.
Cool.
And we're going to start with a question, though. Do you use a VPN?
I do use a VPN occasionally.
Okay.
Yeah, not all the time, but occasionally. Yeah.
What was your reasoning for that?
Again, I just don't think it's healthy for my habits, not me because I'm special, but just people's habits in general to be put into databases for other people to come along and manipulate or use to hack human behavior.
Right. And I've always agreed. I've like, I should get a VPN because that makes sense. I don't like that my data just goes everywhere and everyone can have it. But the way I'm always advertised a VPN is just like, do I really need it?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't feel that comfortability. It's like when someone's trying to sell me gold when you're watching a cable station. You're like, I don't think this is right. Well, so anyways, Consumer Reports indicated that 75% of the most popular VPNs misrepresented their products and made misleading claims that could give abortion seekers a false sense of security. Now, obviously, that's in the news because that's in the news.
Yeah, specific to.
So they obviously threw that in there. I think there was probably questions about that beforehand too. So, but VPN services are also accused of using data when in Rome, right? Every freaking company, as well as a lack of practical tools, independent research for VPN security claims. So basically, the Consumer Reports came and said like, hey, what you're selling is not really what you're getting.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's about every company ever. So I don't know.
There's a couple I think that do well, and I think there's a big group of them that aren't really effective, right? Like they're just, again, like overstating their ability to mask your traffic through their servers and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a free virus downloader. When you see that advertised, you're like, really? A free virus cleaner?
Anything free on the internet.
Yeah, like that's what I see when I think that. So I don't have one yet. Everything's up there.
Well, if you use a Google product, it has Google's VPN already launched on it.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm good then.
Well, I mean, Google knows everything about you, but like maybe like the Russian government doesn't.
Everyone knows everything about me. So I'm an avid Chrome user. And I put all my passwords in there because I want the autofill.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of. I hit a point at one time where I'm like, I hate passwords with so much. And now that I've done that, I get that error where it says your passwords have been compromised.
Oh, from Chrome?
Yeah, it actually gives you like.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it has some kind of search where it's found my passwords and stuff on some kind of
Oh, wow.
database, and it comes back, and it's basically telling you that you need to change your password. So if
Yeah.
I click yes, it's like, oh, you've been compromised. Fix your password. Then it gives me a list of like 100. So I have to go to website to website. Well, I'm like, I'm not going through like. I'd
crazy.
rather just wait until I'm hacked.
Yeah.
And then figure, which has happened, by the way, with like PayPal. I'll just figure it out later. I'm not spending my whole day changing my password.
That's crazy. I didn't know that was part of the service. That's interesting.
I guess you don't. Do you use autofill?
I do, but I have pretty crazy alphanumeric passwords.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't have any memorized passwords. They're all just long ass strings that I copy paste from places.
So you don't, because they have a generated encrypted password thing too. They use. Do you
Yeah,
use
I don't
that?
use that. No.
So you're just copying and pasting. You don't have like a method like
Nope.
like if the company's called Google, the first letter.
No,
My dad tried to tell me a story like that. He's like, see, you don't understand. So the company's Google's. So what I do is like the first letter's G
Yeah,
and
me too.
then a 1.
got a
And then
system.
I always put your mother's name after that. And I'm like, well, what if the company changes or something? Well, then I just remember and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, like it's not gonna work. I can't stand passwords. I'm all about that's another thing why I just give my data away. Because on my phone, I like it better because all my passwords are stored on my phone,
Yeah.
but it just accesses them through the facial recognition.
Yeah.
So it goes facial recognition,
Yeah.
automatically puts in the password. So I'm just
as long
always
as
giving it
somebody
away.
doesn't intercept that data, you're fine.
Oh, I want everything to be seamless. I really do. I just want it to happen. So yeah, I guess you don't do the FaceTime thing. I'm sorry, the face recognition thing either.
I don't. I
Do
really
you lock
don't.
your phone? Is it with like a long
Yeah, it's
number?
with the pin. Yeah,
How long's your pin?
it's only 4.
Ah,
Yeah, but I can shut my phone off, right? Like
Okay.
I can wipe my phone from. If I lose my phone, I can wipe my phone.
okay. I thought you were gonna tell me like the 9 pin. I thought you were
No,
you
no.
came off like
and
a
I
9
use the
pin
fingerprint
guy.
scanner, which is obviously
Oh, you got a? Is it a back scanner?
yeah.
Which model was that?
4S, I think.
That's an iPhone 4S.
No. Android, a Pixel.
Oh,
Pixel.
that's a Pixel.
Yeah,
I don't even know what that is.
yeah. Oh, it's Google's.
I
yeah,
do.
Okay,
I
sorry.
do.
Oh, it's a shame. Yeah, I do though. Try to like limit my exposure out there, and I don't know if it matters, right? I think it's more of just like a principled stance that I'm making for my own virtuous
No,
satisfaction.
I agree. I see your point because it is like you kind of want to make that stance, but at the same time, you're like, am I really doing anything?
Yeah,
Like
you're
they're
not,
recording
yeah.
me at every corner.
Yeah, totally.
Like it's you're in it.
Yeah.
You're in.
Oh, they know we're sitting next to each other, right?
Exactly. We're live to the world, and even though we're not getting any comments, Zuck and Bill Gates are watching.
Yeah,
you know,
well,
what I
their
mean?
AIs are.
Their AIs are. They do have their AIs.
Scraping it for controversial statements to flag you for not access to the smart city.
Yes. Hey, did you guys get a smart house? Not allowed over theirs. Anyway, so speaking of Yinzer news right here.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So winning Super Bowls
Uh-huh.
are good for the winning team's fan base.
Okay.
Which you'd think would make sense, but
Makes
as
sense.
in health reasons.
Health reasons.
All right. So when the Pats fans lost to the Giants
Uh-huh.
back in 2008, like the fatal heart attacks were up 24%.
Wow.
Which is a lot.
That's wow.
But in 2009, when the Steelers won, heart attacks were down 31%.
That's crazy.
So, like, winning the Super Bowl literally just uplifts your entire city. And what's weird too is the same group of people are like drinking
Yeah,
and
yeah.
eating terribly.
Whatever. Yeah.
But it's such an emotional connection.
Cranking on Lucky Strikes.
I guess. I think that's hilarious. That is a crazy number.
Yeah.
So winning if you were in a smart city and that's what Pittsburgh's going to be. We just have an economy on the Steelers.
Like sports happiness.
Yeah, and as long as we just keep a really good team,
Yeah.
we will have a utopia because everyone will just be, just feeding off this thing. We just got to figure this out.
Do you think it's just that people are so invested in like the Patriots that they go into clinical depression? Like, do you think it's like, it's like
the opposite definitely is. For losing, it is like
That's what I mean,
literal
yeah.
depression.
and so
thing.
like that exacerbates your medical condition,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But like winning, I guess it's the same thing. It's
Yeah,
just the opposite.
flip-floppy, right? Yeah.
It's just so crazy. And I guess I should know better because when I did a video with Matt Light and we traveled to the Browns, Steelers versus Browns, and he made me sit in the dog pound. which is so scary.
Yeah.
So
Were
scary.
you wearing like a Steelers jersey?
Yes,
Oh.
yes. So, and we did get in a fight. Now, it wasn't like I was hurt but that bad, but you could sense like the attachment to the team.
The tribalism.
Yeah, it was like losing a game was like losing their arm. And it's so real. It's so real. So the stats make sense. And I do want to put out there that the source is from scientists. And it was on the Sci Show with Hank Green, who is a popular guy, but that was the source was scientists.
Yeah, it's weird though, like how we can become tribal about the craziest shit, right? Like we just can like become so invested in like all sorts of ideas that don't really affect our like actual happiness or life. Like,
Well, I think it does in the immediate. I think it's like taking a drug because
that dopamine spike.
yeah, because I remember there was a time where I was pretty avid Steelers fan and still am a little bit, but I was very connected. So like if they lost on Sunday,
Yeah.
I was sad on Monday. Like I had that feeling, and as I got older, I was like, why am I so?
Guys
I have
making millions
nothing
of
to
dollars.
do with these guys.
Yeah.
I have nothing to do with these dudes. But I was connected. But at the same time, it's like if you're not connected, what would I have been doing on a Sunday? Like
Yeah.
it's you need that dopamine.
Yeah,
So
and when you're young, you want that. You want tribes.
that.
Yeah.
Even now, sometimes when I'm at the bar and I'm kind of watching a game, and I'm like, why do I put a little bit of money on this game?
Yeah. Get some
Like,
steaks.
Yeah, get some steaks.
There's
in it.
action on this.
Yeah. So that's cool. I guess, and hey, maybe there'll be Utopia. Like I said, Utopia City with Steelers. There'll be Utopia City. It's all about sports. This is going to be Planet, Sport Planet. I think I'm just giving like plots from any Futurama episode I've ever seen. Pretty much is. All right, we're going to keep going to the news here. All right, we got air taxi is showing up on the Pittsburgh International Airport.
Yeah.
So you're going to be able to fly anywhere within 100 miles after you get off your flight.
That's way better than the planned gondolas.
The gondolas. I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
Yeah, that's way better than gondolas.
Whatever happened to that?
They're still in the news. They were last week or something. I saw something that they were still like trying to push them through.
So where would that connect to with the gondolas?
Was it like the strip to like Polish Hill or something like that?
Oh, okay.
Like there's a bunch of them, but like that's the one that sticks in my
Now,
head.
just to be sure, because this is mostly, I almost said radio. This is a radio show. This is a podcast. Like a gondola, that's like almost when you're like on a, well, I was gonna say Will Ferris. Will Ferris
It's like
is not
It's a ski lift, right? Like, it's a
like
big,
a ski lift. Yeah.
yeah, it's like a box on a ski lift. That you
Yeah,
ride up and
okay,
down
yeah.
on.
So the
Yeah.
same idea, but only be going down the hill.
Up and down, yeah.
Up and down
So it's
the
like
hill.
the Mon Incline, but like not on rails, on like
Okay.
a cable car, right? Like it's like dangling in the air.
Yes. It sounds cool.
It does, but like they were pitching it as like part of the mass transit solution.
Yeah.
I just don't see like how that, like a bus carries, I don't know, 70 people.
It seems like a tourist attraction.
Yeah, exactly. A
Right.
gondola carries like 10. I don't know.
Now I remember they were trying to get a zip line across the river.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
That's
get
still a thing too, I think.
it is, but the railroad, whoever owns the railroad,
Won't
they
give them a
don't
flyover.
want. They want to do a flyover, which is like come on, it's this much. The chances of
Yeah.
them falling on your
Train.
train.
Well, there's FAA stuff too. I knew the guy that originally was a startup guy. I can't remember his name now. Tried to do this a decade ago, and he was like real into like that idea of like being able to zip line to the science center from Mount Washington. It's just crazy.
Hey, I would do it. That sounds like
Oh,
so
yeah,
much fun.
totally do
Obviously, it's not a mass transit
No,
type of deal, though. Maybe if you get enough up there, that would be pretty
it's probably
sweet.
like a 2-minute ride or something like that.
Oh, that'd be so awesome. So anyway, supposedly this air taxi thing, it's money from the government.
Yeah,
And they're gonna like be more like drones. So like they'll be able
Yeah.
to take off straight up and down.
Yep.
And then fly like a plane and then land wherever. So I'm guessing like for me, I live Armstrong County. I could go down to Harmer and then hop on this
The heliport.
and then and then that would be awesome. This is the
Yeah.
kind of stuff that I want.
yeah,
you
for
know?
sure, for sure. No, Uber like did this or still is doing it. I think in like the big West Coast markets like LA and San Francisco.
What they're investing in
They
some
have
kind of
them
drones.
operating. They're operating like these like air taxis.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, but they're way cost prohibitive, right? They're like
Right.
$500-600 a ride. I'm guessing, but they're like hundreds of dollars a ride. It's not like you're gonna like catch an air taxi, to the airport when most people won't even take the Uber because it's $90.
Yeah. I'm assuming that's why I'm always confused with Uber and stuff. And I guess, COVID changes so much, but I want to get to a point, and this is why I like the idea of smart cities and like having universal income in the smart cities where like when I take an Uber or I taxi to get anywhere, I'm either paying very little,
Yeah.
or zero at all, and not $50 just to get from PPG to the point.
Yeah. Uber ended up not being cheaper than a cab.
Yeah,
right?
it's totally switched over.
Yeah, they hustled you in the first couple of years.
Oh, yeah,
thinking like you're gonna like.
It's like Netflix.
Yeah, it's just like Netflix, right? And I don't know, was that optimism? Was that purposeful? Like, it's probably a little bit of both.
But so it's weird now though, is I still won't get a taxi.
Yeah,
Because it's too
easy.
convenient to hit the button.
Yeah,
I do feel like, for the most part, when I'm in an Uber, it's nicer, or at
Yeah.
least I have a sense that I can talk to the driver or control maybe the radio and they have gum or something. For the most part,
Yeah.
But I always think smart transportation, or I guess advanced technology and some type of transportation, is one of the number one goals
Mhm.
for anything. Like I live far away. It takes me an hour to get to the city, to drive my car and to spend gas to get down. It's such a thought process of like, is it worth coming in today?
yeah. Oh, for sure.
All the time. And if I could just hop on a train, or the trains pissed me off because in my hometown we have rails to trails. So where the train used to be, there's a trail up there I can walk and run. But my great grandmother was able to hop on a train and then show up at the strip
Yeah, for
in
sure.
20 minutes.
Yeah,
And I'm like, how great would that be for me right now?
yeah. We let go of that infrastructure pretty quick.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell the story wrong,
Yeah.
but like all the trolleys and all the T's, like those were privatized into the bus companies, right? Like they made a decision at some point in the 60s, I think, to like buy buses and start like winding down all those light rail lines. And it was, there's a controversy around it. I don't remember what it was, but it was very much like the implication was that like somebody was on payola to like buy all these buses.
Yeah, well, the story, like you're right, I don't know exactly, but it was definitely like a lobby type thing, or like the buses and stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, at one point was like the main business of transportation. And when the trolleys and other electrical vehicles start coming around in the 70s for that, they were like, no, like we're going to lose money. And they somehow, through
Yeah.
propaganda, lobbying, or whatever,
Or just like legislation.
capitalism.
Right?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Libertarianism. I'm just going to start saying words that like.
Get your audience commenting,
like-
fired up.
Yeah, it took our germs. That's how I think I wrote that down on just a thought. Like they took our trains. It's the same. It's the same thing here.
I mean, I think though, if you get these smart cities, you'll see that transportation stuff becomes affordable again, right? Like,
I would hope.
because we're so close to like automated vehicles, even if they're not like fully self-driving, but like if they're on like dedicated routes and they have like known obstacles and like little kids aren't like running out in front of them and stuff like that. Like I think we're 5 years away, right, from having like viable like automated taxi systems, at least on certain routes.
That's what I think. I watch a lot of stuff on TikTok where the guy shows the view of the car, and then on the bottom you can see, I don't know what you would call it, the software, like what the computer sees.
Yeah,
It's amazing how far the sensors
Yeah.
can see down the road.
Yeah.
And not only does it tell it's an object, it can tell if it's like a tree, a car,
In motion,
a person
right,
in
yeah.
motion. It's really impressive.
Yeah, it's super
So,
cool. It's the wild card that it can't deal with, right? It's that edge case that is the scary bit. Like, and I struggle to understand how like a Tesla is going to drive downtown when so much of like driving downtown is like human culture, right? It's
Mhm.
like getting waved on or like taking a Pittsburgh left or like forcing your way,
Pittsburgh left's such a good point.
Yeah, like or just like how like when it's gridlocking, like how you are aggressive to get yourself in the queue so that you just don't sit there forever, right? Like otherwise you would just sit there until rush hour was over. Like how
Yeah.
doesn't that car just like
And I've
sit
seen
there for an
TikToks
hour?
like that of like automated car was getting pulled over by the police because it was stuck, like you said. And then when the cops came up to it, it started driving away again.
"I'm outta
And it
here."
just kept doing that. And it was like, and that was so funny. You're right, though. I think about that when I'm driving downtown where I'm like, how would a computer ever navigate over Fifth,
Yeah.
turn? Like, you can't.
Make eye contact
Yeah.
with the guy that you're going to cut off. Like, cut
Yeah.
you off, motherfucker.
Cut you
I'm
off.
you see
Yeah.
this?
Otherwise, I'm never gonna go left.
Yeah.
You'll never go left. You're right, Dorian. There are times like you have to make that aggressive move, and how
Yeah.
can AI work through that.
Or have that communication with
Yeah.
the human that's opposing you.
And then one day though, I will be sitting in front of a car or in a car, and it's gonna do that move.
And
And
you
that,
just smash right into it.
yeah,
It's just gonna plow right into it.
I actually was thinking like I'll be impressed for how good it did, but no, you're right. It'll probably just whatever. So, well, what do you think is gonna happen? Because I feel that actually, I think there's a better chance of me being more surprised in a vehicle of not hitting something than actually be like, oh, an accident again.
What do you
know?
mean, like self-driving?
Well, like it's just like this whole thought of like society. Is society crumbling? Like if society is crumbling,
Yeah.
like some people say it's Armageddon, political, whatever's happening. But at the same time, technology is still advancing.
Yeah.
It's not like it's gonna be crumbling and technology crumbles too. So you're gonna have this like both. So you're gonna be in a smart car that is gonna be driving around. And is it going to be hitting people? And people are like, well, whatever. We just got smart cars now. It's part of life. Or is it really going to be like, no, the technology's gotten better now, and we're not going to be running people over in the streets.
I mean, I believe truly that like automated vehicles are gonna net save lives, right? Like
Okay.
I think, if you think about just driving on the freeway, like a Tesla drives on the freeway with like 99.999% no
Yes,
errors, right?
yes.
So like that versus Jack Wagon and the jacked up Dodge Ram, who's been tailgating me on 376 because he's from Beaver County and I'm in a small subcompact car, right? And he feels like he's got to like
He's just
exert
angry at you for that.
Yeah, he's got some testosterone issues or something like that. Like obviously, like that guy's more likely to like get into a devastating accident than like a Tesla that won't let you speed. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, right? Or Ford or whatever it is, right? So I don't think that the automated cars, they're going to kill people, but they're not going to kill as many people as humans kill in vehicles.
Mhm. You're right. So in the end, positive.
Way positive.
Positive.
Now,
I agree.
to the larger point, right? Like, is society crumbling? I don't think it is. I think what's happening is like there's just going to be monumental shifts in what it means to be a human, and some people are going to be get to participate in that decision making, and other people are going to be completely excluded from whatever that means. And so the people that get to participate in the decision making, whether that's by, wealth or race or culture or country, they're going to be living in a better world because technology improves the human condition. It's pretty solid evidence of that, right? But the folks that are like on the out group are going to be living in a world that they find untenable. And, you see that in like some of the religious expressions around like the way culture's shifting, right? Like, a controversial example would be like gender identity, right? Like there's a lot of heated conversation on the left and the right about like what is gender. So now escalate that with body modification on a genetic level, right? Like I can't see a bunch of fundamentalist Christians like getting behind that technology, but a bunch of people were going to do it, And so whatever group becomes the out group's going to be wildly unhappy with that. Like if the fundamentalist religious people win, then all these people that are chasing this stream of like new sort of gender norms are going to be locked out of that opportunity. And if the flip-flop's true, the Christians are going to be real mad.
Yeah, people think they're upset about someone that says they're a girl or a guy, or they're picking their gender. It's like, wait till half of them are a cyborg.
Yeah, right. With a giant hand.
Yeah, giant hand, or 3 times the size of you, or maybe it's part lizard and part.
Yeah.
It's like, wait till that happens, and it's like, yeah, that's coming.
It's here.
Yeah, you're right. It's here.
It's here.
I've seen some people with like some bio arms, or not bio arms. I'm thinking mechanical arms that work pretty well.
Yeah, they're like tied back into their nervous system and stuff. Yeah, I mean, like
tied back in the nervous system. That's crazy.
Yeah, super crazy. And that technology is like just getting more and more advanced and more seamless. And eventually, like fake legs are going to be better than human legs, right?
Yeah.
And fake eyes are going to be better than human eyes.
Like that one guy killed his wife, and he did a decent job. Yeah,
no problems.
Yeah, no problems. He almost got away with it, actually. To be honest, so like an improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really scary.
So it's just to finish with that, it's that in-group, out-group, right? Like that's what's happening now. The difference between like who's, in power and who's not in power is just going to be way different than in the 18th century when like farmer Thomas Jefferson was, essentially doing the same thing that farmer regular person was doing, just with more. But now it's not going to be that way. Like humans are going to be doing crazy shit and not being humans anymore.
Not being humans anymore.
Yeah.
That's so true. You're right. And it's like I said, being part robot, you're thinking robot from like legs down, but no, let's take your consciousness
Yeah.
and put it into a machine. But that machine also maybe has pieces from another person. And it's just,
Or just an AI hive mind.
yeah,
Or,
AI. If I'm back to the Borg, man, we're just back to one entity, one conscious being taking over the universe.
Or first generation of Neuralink just gives you, a competitive advantage in your processing, right? Like you do math faster, or you recognize every human you see and you know their name and all their demographic, like just that little advantage. How's a Mormon kid from Utah going to be competitive with you
yeah.
economically?
And that's something I think I'm gonna probably get into because you're wearing glasses right now, and I always think that would be cool. What's that? Augmented reality.
Yeah,
That's what it's called.
Yeah,
so where it's like, and the same thing, it's not plugged in your brain, but it's on the device in front of you. If I look at you, it will say Josh. So I don't have to worry about all that stuff. You're right. All this, it's already built in.
Yep.
And to one point, it's going to be on the device, and then eventually you're just
they
plugged in.
They demoed a full contact lens now that has its own power supply and everything.
I've seen that.
That does AR.
That's so wild.
I mean, like once you get once you get that insert,
I'm getting it. I'm getting it. I'm sorry. I can't. I've been excited about this since I was 5.
It's known technology, right? Like cataract surgery, they put a physical lens in your eye, right? Like, and it's a hard lens, it's about that big, right? So like that technology's here already. The only issue is just, can you power it wirelessly through your head without like cooking your brain or giving yourself skin cancer or whatever?
Yeah. And that's always you gotta figure that part out.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna jump into the VR because I brought that up earlier,
Yeah.
and you seemed surprised when I told you how much time I spend in VR every single day.
Yeah.
And the couple I like the game. I've always been like a Call of Duty type gamer. I like the shooter games.
Yeah.
I mean, I've played some cities. I like a lot of games, but that's kind of like fun strategy
So
side.
what's the game? Is it Call of Duty?
So the game I play in VR is actually called Populous 1.
Okay.
And I've been playing. It's still, I think, maybe in beta. But what's funny is the reason I really liked it. Well, it was a big map, right? And it was just kind of like a farm map, and you could physically look down at the gun and reload, look down the sights.
Yeah.
Really cool. But at one point, they took a corner of the map and they made it a city. So once you add like 7 floors, you're adding like 10 more maps of space.
Sure. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, it was like, I am really in a world. And then they added, they just developed the software a lot better. So I really felt like I was.
And this is on Oculus?
This is on Oculus, yeah. And then I got like some better accessories where the battery and stuff lasted longer. It was more comfortable. And so once I got past all those issues of like it being comfortable, it lasted longer, and they improved the software, it was just so much fun. Because one, the communications in the game and the hardware is great. If you're standing behind me and you're talking, it sounds like you're standing behind me. If you shoot a gun on the other side of the map, it sounds like it's coming from there. So all of that like is very like, I'm in this game. And now it became the point where like, off to your left, to the west, let's, you're really playing, you're really in it.
Team-based, like 5-on-5 or something like that?
Exactly. And whatever kind of game they have. And so once I made that hump, I mean, there's been days I've been in there for 5 hours straight.
Yeah.
And it's not like a problem now anymore. Now, my daughter plays even more.
Yeah.
But she will play every single game. But now she's designing games. And she designed games very similar to, I think, how you would see someone build Minecraft from you start Minecraft from just a blank and they start making walls and stuff. She's like building mazes and it's just crazy it's more than just physical 3D rendering of stuff. Like there's nodes and switch-based things. So you press this button and it does this thing to a point where you can develop a complete game that once again reminds me of Star Trek, like the holodeck.
Yeah.
And that's what VR it is that now. I'm putting on a helmet and I can basically do whatever I want, wherever I want to be.
Into a new reality.
Yeah, I'm in a new reality. We're at low res right now.
Sure, totally.
But I'm there. It's there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a generational thing. Like
that's true.
You're a little younger than I am. I definitely played a ton of video games growing up, right? So I get the appeal of video games. But even at this age, I don't have a compulsion anymore. And I don't know what about people changes to go play even a regular video game.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's maybe it's you feel like the clock's ticking, and so you feel like that might be wasting time. Do you know what I mean? Like the older you get, and I'm not
Yeah.
that much older than you, but like, you know, you
You're a
start to
little
like,
bit.
like,
You're enough that
I
you're
got
like
like,
almost 10. You're almost 10 years
yeah,
old. I
like
think it's
I
like
got
7 or
another
8.
15, 20 years of like
Yeah.
being able to like do things at a cognitively high level or physically like regular level kind of thing.
Be a normal human being, at least what we think it means right now.
Yeah, so like there's something in the back of my head like that doesn't let me enjoy a video game like I used to, or like strapping on like an augmented reality or VR headset. It just, there's like this weird neurosis about it that I
Yeah,
have.
you've almost had the opposite always, because I've had the thing where I've always wanted to be in. I've
Yeah.
always like dreamt of it. Even when Nintendo had a thing called VR Boy
Yeah.
back in the early 90s, I was like, that's
Yeah,
it.
that's it.
I'm gonna be able to like log in my car. I remember thinking about it.
Like
Remember-
Duck Hunt.
Yeah, yeah, I had that too. By the way, there was a really cool VR duck hunt game.
Is there?
Yeah, that they developed, and it's creepy. It's like scary and stuff, but it's the same sound effects. And eventually, once you kill enough ducks, the dog starts like chasing you into a house and stuff. And it's creepy too. The game starts like, so you get into VR and like you're in like a room like back in the 80s, and you have like a Nintendo on the floor, and you put the game in, and then all of a sudden you're in the game with the gun.
Yeah, yeah.
Way more fun than the original game.
I mean, it's all super interesting, and I get it. I totally get it, and I see how it's going to be more and more appealing to a degree. But I think there's an upper limit to where most normies, given the most normies won't want to take their meetings in VR for extended periods of time. Now that's a bold statement that may prove me to be wrong, but like I don't think that like Meta's plan for like creating an economy that just services everything we do in real life in this virtual world is going to be something people are comfortable doing, at least this generation. Maybe the generation after this that has genetically engineered themselves and neural linked to each other, it's going to be a different story. But like, yeah, I just think that too much of human sensory, you're never going to match human sensory input of the real world with this coming generation of VR.
Maybe it's also what people can have access to, because if there was paintball, like I know there's only 2 paintball Nerf gun places around Pittsburgh. There's one in like Munhall, and there's one maybe
West Mifflin or something.
Yeah,
like
something like that. It's not close to where I live.
Yeah, not at all.
So like I can't go to those places easily.
Yeah,
but I can quickly throw on my VR
totally.
and kind of have that.
For free,
basically for free.
Yeah.
And there are the paintball and stuff, like it's basically the same idea. So there is that. Like if it was next door, I'd probably be hitting that up a lot more. But I also agree that like Meta's plan's awful. Like I like their hardware.
Yeah.
But when I'm playing their game, I tried their like Meta Worlds and stuff like that. It is kind of scary.
Yeah.
But there's a game called Rec Room, which is a little scary because it's almost like Roblox, if anyone knows what that is. But they seem to have a better idea of how, I shouldn't say better, but they're just letting people build whatever. Meta, I don't know what Zuck's vision is. It seems very scary and like no one's ever going to take a meeting in the Meta world.
Yeah.
But I could see another company coming up with a much better piece of software that maybe does work. It's just the way they're selling it is scary. But I like the idea of it. I just don't want them to sell it.
Well, do you trust that like you're taking your business meeting in Meta's world? Like, do you think that like that's not going to be recorded?
Yeah.
And, like like even if it's anonymized, like it's still like you're going to say proprietary things on some third-party platform that almost, ruin governments, ruin like, the U.S. government. And I don't know.
No, you're right. It's also, I think about my daughter and stuff. Like when they get older, are they going to think about that?
They're not.
Because they're so used to just being in it. It's like
trusting
we
the
just
platform.
they just trust it because that's all they've ever known.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I almost feel that way too. I'm like, well, I use Facebook all the time anyways. What I messaged you on? Did I message you on Facebook?
I think
It was
emailed me.
email. It was email. But I have and many other people before. It's like Messenger is my only form because that's where we met.
Yeah.
I don't have your email.
Right. Yeah.
So for me, that's the only reason I'm not on. I would be off Facebook if it wasn't for a couple of things. But that's where my network is.
Yeah. I get it. Like my login still exists. I just choose not to participate as much as possible.
I try to tag you, and I was like, I can't tag Josh in this. What the hell? He doesn't exist.
So yeah, I hear you, man. I think that it's all cool and it's all compelling, but like your daughter's generation has to get burnt for it to like sink into them just how dangerous like what's happening is, right? Like they have to like get burnt by some action by a Facebook or a Google or some actor that teaches them the important lesson that like humans are inherently selfish and virtue signaling and will eventually
Yeah, they need to have their 9/11 or their pandemic,
Yeah.
which will be a version of like a
solar flare wipes
yeah,
out all
and that's
these.
what it's going to be. It's going to be on that level of chaos, maybe more, but it's going to be on in like technology and affect all that. And they're going to be like, well,
Got to go the other way
that
now.
VPN did not work really well for that one. I did not keep my data good at all.
Yeah, it's just a crazy pendulum, right? Like everything's always swinging back and forth, and recently, just people are swinging the pendulum harder and harder and harder.
Yes, I agree with that.
Eventually, that apparatus breaks down, and we have a little bit of a reset.
So usually at the end of the podcast, I try to teach the audience or my guest something.
Okay, cool.
And maybe you might know a lot about this. So I was trying to learn what the fourth dimension actually is.
Yeah, okay.
And I asked you earlier, you're like, that's time and space. It's close.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people actually, and they actually taught this, by the way, that the fourth dimension was time.
Right.
It's not time. So anyways, we're going to go through
Okay, cool.
all the dimensions real quick. This is how I think it is. Well, not how I think it is. This is how I read it. No, this is just me making it up. I've been trying to read about this and trying to understand it. And the best way for me to understand it is to teach it.
Sure.
So the 0 dimension, which is 1 point.
Correct.
So it's just a dot.
Yes.
Can't go anywhere.
Right.
Okay. The first dimension is a series of points. So it's a line.
Right.
Okay. The second dimension is multiple lines, which is a series of adjacent lines. So if I just drew a line, I drew a line, I drew a line, I drew a line, I'd get like a plane.
Correct.
That's what you call a plane.
Yes.
And then if you have 3D is a series of planes. So obviously if I had more of these, I can make a box. I can make a box out of this. If I wanted to, I could try. But
Yep.
But you got it. 4D is the same thing. You take the 3D and layer it over and over again. That's a lot harder to like picture in my mind, by the way. But like I like the way, so it's just line, line, line. And then 3D is like stack, stack, stack. And then so you have a box. And so 4D is
a box
and box again.
Yeah.
It's really confusing. So there is this game called 4D Toys. It's an app.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to show it right now, but that's kind of hard for a podcast. And it really helps to understand how it works. Because like you ever hear like what a monster would look like if it came through the world, like a 4D monster came through 3D?
It would be a slice of the monster.
Yeah, it's a slice of the monster.
Right.
But what's weird, so if there was a sphere, in a sense, and I wouldn't look like this, but there was a sphere in 4D and it came into 3D, you don't get a slice of the 4D. You wouldn't see like a ball like slice. You would just see a smaller ball. And the more and more it goes in is bigger and bigger. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Now, it makes sense in the level if you're going 3D to 2D and you're moving, say, a fist. Say this is the 2D world, and I'm moving my fist through it. You would start seeing slices and slices and slices.
Yeah, it's often explained as like the shadow of,
yes,
right?
The shadow of explains.
Yeah, so like if you were a 3D object, you would be casting a shadow on a 2D plane. Like if you lived in a 2D world, you'd see the shadow of the 3D object.
Yes. Just, I'm going to show this, but I can't. But yeah, so that's why I understand it. But does that make any sense to you to try to like tell what 4D really is?
Yeah, I can't visualize 4D. Like I'm not one of those people that can conceptualize like those higher dimensional geometric shapes. I think some people say they can. I'm like maybe a little skeptical of that. I think people can intuit mathematically, like the math behind like the spatial geometry is like really well understood at this point.
Yes, and that's what the game is, and that's how they move objects through, and they take crazy shapes and stuff, and like say this is what it would look like if it went through the dimension, and it's tough. I keep playing, like okay.
So you got to be really mathematically intuitive, I think, to like really understand the stuff. Yeah. And those people go into physics and stuff like that. They're not like us content.
I love
content
reading
creators.
about it.
I do too. Yeah.
Because I did, and they say you can kind of think of 4D like time, because if we froze time right now, and then we had multiples of those on top of each other, that's like a different time.
Yeah.
Like, but all at the same time. So we take this moment and this moment that just happened.
One is
And
subjective.
we put it in the same time. That's sort of like, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Oh man, I'm hurting my brain already trying to put this together.
One is subjective, and that time is in that frame of reference stuff too. So there's a really good podcast called Jorge and Daniel Explain the Universe. It was really good, especially back in the day before like they got bought out or like paid advertisements started being put in it. But like they do a really good job of like taking these fundamental like big concepts of either space time or dimensionality or simulation theory and like having like a 12th grade conversation about it.
12th grade. That's still pretty high up though.
Yeah, but like most adults can like listen to a 12th grade
Yeah, they could.
content podcast.
With the new James Webb telescope out, I read about this. This is a crazy thing. Do you know with whatever direction you look, if you farthest you can look, you're looking at the Big Bang. Doesn't matter.
Everything's expanded.
Right. It's space is just always expanding, so it doesn't matter. Supposedly there's no center of the universe.
Because you're always.
You seem very confident. Like,
I mean, I
get it.
I don't know if I get it, but like, I've definitely read a lot of this, like about this stuff.
That's
and
cool.
I have a science degree, right? So like, I had like physics and all that stuff in college. So, I mean, we're, if you need any proof that you shouldn't be on Instagram virtue signaling, and that you're not really that important, like, just take a minute to think about like your physical size in the universe, and that should be enough to like let you know that like your endeavor, like your personal day to day, isn't really probably going to matter much in long term 13.5 billion years of the universe.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
So good, make crazy decisions, because like, what's the repercussion?
Right? Like it's for such a speck, on nothingness. Or absolutely everythingness. I don't even know which one it is.
People living on the moon won't even know about it.
I know. That's so crazy. So I always like to end on this last question. Do you think we're living in a simulation?
I think we have named it simulation, right? But I think that it's likely that there are many versions of universes, and whether they're simulated or just the natural order of things, I don't know that it matters, right? I don't know if it matters if it's a created simulation or
doesn't matter.
It just, there are many kinds of ways of existing, and we are pretty dumb, right? Like we're not very smart, and to imagine that we can conceptualize all of the vastness that we can even just see with the James Webb telescope, let alone what is probably, if you like string theory, right? Like multiverse theory, like multiverse universe. Like I think it's likely, right? I think that we don't understand our reality at all. And so I'd be comfortable saying that there are other realities out there that are unconceptualizable by people.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good thing. It's like we're using the word simulation, but we really don't even understand that in a sense. Like I was reading before, was like we are all simulating everything at once. Like it's a collective conscious reality, and we're all aware and measuring things.
Your brain is simulating what your eyes see.
Yeah. I thought this thought that this guy was talking about. He goes, dreams are so crazy. So your brain constructs a reality.
Yeah.
And then it takes your brain and puts you into that reality.
Right.
And then you do not know that you just been put, and you believe that's your reality.
You can feel and you can smell.
You can feel and you smell. And it's not until you wake up, you're like, oh, I was in a different thing. But when you're in there.
Yeah.
So that kind of feels like, what's that? If that's happening right now. And until I'm out, but I'm not going to lie. I have been in a dream, and I do this often, especially when I was younger. Knew I was in a dream. I guess it's called vivid dreams, and then try to take control.
Yeah.
Have you done that?
Yeah. I mean, lucid dreaming, right? Like that's something you can practice. I don't know that I'm super good at it, but like I definitely, like, part of my meditation routine is to try to like at least be aware of like what I dream, right? Like to try to like remember what I dream.
Okay.
I don't know that I do a good job controlling it. I definitely feel like a watcher of myself in a dream, which is like kind of a first step towards that, is like it's sort of just like meditation, right? Like being able to like observe like your thoughts as they emerge in your brain, and like try to source like where those thoughts come from, or like at least hear them.
Oh wow, that's so cool how you phrase that. That's exactly how, like, you're kind of like above yourself, but not not quite in, it's like you're delay. It's like a delay.
Yeah.
You get like a 5-second delay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I was younger, I mean, I can still do this, but for some reason when I was younger, it was easier to do. And I think it's because I was able to sleep longer, I had more free time.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But I could get to a point where I was really controlling.
That's great.
And I would fly. I would fly a lot. That was like the one thing I could really do was fly, and I could manifest things and knew I was in a dream. And then I could feel myself like waking up and just like, no, stay. And I'd wake and I would wake up like, I can't get back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And always that was always like crazy to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's like how I'm going to die. I'm just going to be in a dream and I'm not going to get out. It's like Stranger Things.
I mean, if anything's going to save us as a species, it's our ability to like think about like our own brains and how like we arrive at thoughts, right? Like we have to get better as a like society of like understanding like where our crazy ass impulses come from and like how those crazy impulses emerge and what we can do to like mitigate some of the crazier, more harmful ones.
Right.
Like everybody has like crazy impulses, right? So like you got to like,
yeah, we're all filtered.
yeah.
Right. And like basically what we're talking about is like to access those filters. Like there's something happening to me right now that's stopping me from saying, terrible things.
Right.
Just for fun, just to start swearing and just be uncomfortable. Like I'm done with this podcast. I don't really sense that right now, but you're right. In a dream, I kind of do sense that. I do hear that voice of like, don't say that. That's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
You swear, what I mean?
Yeah.
So that is weird.
So it's like
that.
hearing the like being able to see those thoughts emerge, identify them, hopefully like work with them.
Yeah, work with them all in such microseconds because, deep in your brain, time is really not a thing.
Yeah, and they're fleeting and they're going to disappear.
Yes, and they're fleeting because another thing is you are not your thoughts.
Yep.
Or some people say that. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. So,
yeah.
Anyways, whew. Well, my brain feels bigger. Obviously, it's injured somehow.
Cool.
for talking to you, Josh. Is there anything you want to plug or anything going on?
Nope. I'm
just life.
I'm just hanging out, man.
You're just a smart dude hanging out on LinkedIn.
Hanging out. I got no action right now.
No action.
No, just looking for the next thing, and that's probably still 6 months away.
Oh, that's cool. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for giving me all your big words that I need. I need more big words on the show. Guys, this is the Smart Haus. I'm the Beardy Boy. You can find me anywhere on social media at the Beardy Boy. Smart Haus. All the news stories can be found on the Smart Haus Facebook page. And our network is www.thepitts.company. Endless amount of funny and informative content from Pittsburgh. You can check out our Patreon on www.patreon.com/thepitts. Thanks for watching, guys. This has been Smart Haus.